at least a few things before we get started with the labs is primarily to just understand why are we doing this? Why is operations, or in other words, observability or monitoring, whatever you want to call it. We're not going to be hung up on the words we're going to be using today, but really let's understand the essence of it first. So let me share my screen. All right, and I'm also looking at the chat screen in case there are any specific questions as we go along. It should be fine for me to look at either one of these to get going. So let's get going first on what we are going to be doing today. And just before that, right, I just want to highlight the following. And maybe just a show of hands. So how many of you have got an API which you did yesterday up and running? Just a show of hands. Or you want to throw out something. So at least a majority of you have got this working. And let's not worry whether it was complex or it was too simple or it was too difficult or whatever. You've gone through the experience. You have an API that you've deployed. And that's, I think it's a great progress or a great step towards what we're going to be trying out further after this. But you've got an API, right? And the point is everyone is really happy with it. Okay, and they just want to like take your API and the company that has released this API, which is you, to the next level. But then what happens is that the folks are going to come into like take your API to the next level, start asking you a few very basic questions, right? And this is what I want each one of you to just reflect for a minute on, right? And the questions are as follows, right? So you've got an API that's up and running, extremely happy about it. And now I just want to ask you a few follow-up questions so that I can take the next step with investing in your API. So first question, is it working? How do you know that your API is working? You've deployed it. Are you aware of whether it's working or not? Like, is it successfully giving back some results? If it's working, what is your definition of working in the first place? So that's the follow-up one. That if it is working, what does that really mean? Does it mean that it gives a 200 okay? Does it mean that given certain inputs, it should give you a certain kind of output? You need to really define the very essence of what correctness of something working. In your case, the API really means. These are two questions at this moment. But I'll complicate it further. If your API went down, did you assume that Google Cloud will always keep your API up and running no matter what happens? There is something called an SLA that we promise, but the SLA has a business implication to it. It does not mean that failures don't happen. It does not mean that due to maybe some error on your side also, maybe it could handle a special case, your API simply crashes, is not giving the results. So would you even know that it's gone down? Or you are expecting that the users will call you and say, by the way, you know what, we've been trying for about an hour, your application is not doing enough. Replace the word API with an application, just substitute that with anything else that you want. But again, this is the question I want to ask, that you deployed a cloud run service. Did you even find out if it is up and running after 24 hours? It's been 24 hours, right, since we've been working. Have you even seen if someone has attacked your API? Have you even seen how many requests have come into your API, right? And now if something goes wrong further, how are you going to get notified? Via email, via SMS? Which method do you really prefer? And what are you going to do about it? How do you configure some of these things? It just doesn't end here, right? It goes on and on. Is it even working fast enough? Like, it may be working for all you know, but the users still tell you what, it's giving responses very slow. It was working fine a few days or a few hours earlier, but now it's not working fine or not working fast enough also, right? Maybe can it survive a flood of requests? These are just a fraction of, I would say, perfectly valid and should have been asked by you in the first place, rather than folks who want to be using your API. If you can't answer questions like this about any application or any API, any service that you're going to be hosting, I think we are losing the essence of it all, because end of the day, right, you can create the greatest features you want in your application. Maybe it may be the most beautiful designed app in the world, but if your users cannot experience it in a predictable, consistent, reliable, and a fast enough way, it's going to just defeat the whole purpose of why you even brought that application out there, right? So hopefully, this gives you a sense of where we are going with all of this. And if I just kind of translate this into, let's say, a next set of things that I want you to think about, right? So, of course, if I just go back here, I'm asking you more in an English-like way, right? That, okay, have you thought about these points? But if I start talking in terms of these questions, now I'm talking very specific things, right? That, for example, if you see the highlighted words, there is a pattern to it. There's a reason why these have been highlighted. It's more that, can I really do these things now within a workload? In your case, the API which you hosted on Google Cloud. Can I maybe get a quick view of what's happening with my services? Can I maybe know if my API is alive or not, and is it responding correctly? What's the kind of load on my service? How do I get notified if something goes wrong, right? Are there some pre-built dashboards already available, or do I have to create some new application? So in other words, right, you're saying, how can Google Cloud help you to sort of do this? And again, I don't want to bore you with the things. I'll come back to this slide again and again, or you can look at this slide again and again, because anything that you put out there in the wild, or in other words, in a public, facing URL or an endpoint, you need to be aware that at least there needs to be some sense of answers to these questions. Otherwise, it's going to be trouble. You just not be able to, get any breathing space. So again, don't worry about this diagram, but it is just to tell you that, the Google Cloud Operations Suite, the lab which you will be doing next, has all kinds of features or all kinds of ways by which we can answer the previous questions. And also, it's not about Google Cloud. It's constructed in a way that you can even get logs from popular applications, from operating systems, from other clouds, etc. And in the lab, you will find you'll be using some products of Google Cloud, which you see on the extreme right. So we'll be using monitoring, we'll be using logging, and if something goes wrong completing your application, or why don't you go and put a divide by zero or some intentional error in your code and deploy the service and see something going wrong, and you will find an error reporting also coming up. So we'll actually be utilizing all of these. So straight away now, right? I'm hoping you're getting the gist of where we are going. We need to be able to answer a few questions, get some dashboards up, look at the health of our services, set up some tests so that they are happening always behind the scenes, so that you can confidently say that, hey, if I have not received an email, it means the service is up, it's doing fine, and I'm confidently giving you that particular answer. Remember, later on in life, not in life, but later on as you're if you're deploying any application, and if you start charging customers, these things become all the more important, because you will be promising a certain kind of quality in your services. That's why operations, or in other words, just the whole observability, telemetry, being able to know what's happening in your system, so that when things go wrong, you at least know where to go and look, and you have a reasonable amount of time in which you can react and try to mitigate it. Remember, failures will happen, things will go wrong. Anyone who talks about something being 100% reliable is probably not in touch with reality. Things go wrong due to human errors, due to hardware failures, all kinds of stuff. So we just need some guardrails, some kind of monitoring systems to tell us what's happening. So let's straight away, get into our code lab. And I think the lab URL for Code Labs has been put. You can pick it up from here, or I'll also put it. So I'm assuming first step, right? Everyone has opened up the Code Lab, and if you have opened it up, you should be seeing something that looks like this. Okay. Can I just get some kind of a confirmation from a few folks that you all have the URL. If not, maybe the URL can be put again into the chat. Fair enough. Thanks. Okay. So we've got a couple of days. Of course, you've got more days to do it, but I'm saying a couple of sessions across today and tomorrow, in which we'll try to do most of this. I'm not expecting you to do number 9, but those who feel like doing it, which is optional, we go ahead and do that too. Now, I saw one question, whether should we be using the project or the API that we have deployed, as of yesterday. You could do that too. But I would still suggest, why don't you create another API, which is what the sample application gives. Practice of this code lab, and then why don't you switch after what you learned to your existing API itself, and maybe send us a screenshot of a few dashboards that you wrote for your bookshelf API. Maybe that is something we'll keep as an assessment. So you do this lab with the sample API that I've got over here. It's not as fancy or detailed as the bookshelf API that you wrote yesterday, but the purpose is to just get us going, deploy something in Cloud Run very quickly. And maybe this is also a good way by which you'll be able to deploy one more application in Cloud Run, so that you just get familiar with that experience also. So having said that, right, again, introduction, nothing major. It's just telling you that this whole set of tools is called operations. And now that you have the API, let me, just go to my Google Cloud Console. You can do it along with me also if you want. So I'm assuming that you have already got a Google Cloud project with the credits provision. Is that a yes from almost all people as you begin? If you've gone ahead with the labs, you're on your own, you can always come back. But for those who are doing it along with me, right? So another quick way, before I do that, is my font size good enough? Abhidami, you have to say something, please.
Yes, Romin. Yeah. Just 1 second. Can you increase the
size?
I was coming to that. That is one thing. And another thing is that I recommend everyone in the call to work or do it hands-on alongside Romin, except for the ones who have already completed it and shared the results. But please do it, because this is very important. This will help you get a 360-degree perspective or 360-degree learning of app development, monitoring, and logging, so that it will allow you to choose a career path also down the line. So I recommend everyone to practice it hands-on. So you can have questions. You can always ping in the chat or reach out later on. Thanks, Romin. Carry on.
Thanks, Abhi. All right. So first up, right, I think irrespective of this lab, if you're working with Google Cloud, right, before you even do any command, always, like, for example, when you work with Git, right, the thing they tell you is, look at which branch you're on. Are you on main? Are you on somewhere else, or whatever it is? Similarly, if you're working with Google Cloud, always be aware of the project that you're working on. So you can get it either by, just looking at the top here, or any of the other projects that you want. So just be aware of the project ID that you're working on. So I'm assuming you're all set up with your Google Cloud Console. You all have the project IDs in place, and you also know now where you can get the Cloud Shell from. So if I have to show it again, you should be aware it's somewhere over here. So just click that and go into your Cloud Shell. And while it's coming up, just keep in mind that at any point in time you want to be, if you mixed up your Cloud Shell working with projects, just do a gcloud config list, and this should be able to also give you a few parameters, right? For example, as you see over here, the project ID is also listed out here. So this is just to confirm what you're working with. It's also put over here in the prompt customization, right? So having said that, our first job, right, in the lab, if I go to, is setup and requirements, which you kind of covered. So we've launched Google Cloud Shell. You are into the shell. You kind of, like I said, the gcloud config list. This is a great command. I just run it blindly whenever I'm at times not sure what's happening, or just momentary sort of you forget what you are doing, which project. Just do that so that you're clear that which project ID you are on. There's also this magic environment variable. There are several environment variables made available to you. So in case if you kind of like to remember things, you can also remember there is a dollar Google Cloud project that can also give you the project ID. So make sure you have the right ones. Now we've given you a sample application. So just like yesterday, you had the bookshelf application. So in the code lab, you will find this GitHub link. Please click that. And when you click that, you will be going to this repository, which you're seeing over here. Everyone is over there for those who are doing it along with me. I'll go a little slow in the first whatever few minutes, and then we'll sort of rush. Not rush, complete it faster. Okay. So you see over here that I've tried to provide two applications. I have not updated the Java Spring application for a while. So I would suggest to you to stick to maybe the Python API. Don't worry if you're not a Python person. I'm neither am I, but it's fine to just sometimes write a few things that work under that. So you will see that these projects are there, two ones, but really it's the Python Flask API that we are going to be working with. Don't worry, the instructions are there. So this is the repository. If you go to the now the next step, which is deploy the application, right? So I'm on this step now called deploy the application. So for those of you who want to do this tomorrow with the bookshelf thing, you can simply skip 3 and come to 4 and start playing with them, right? But for us right now, we have to deploy this new API over here. So we are going to be here, deploy the application. So starting from the top right, first up, I just want to tell you what this API is about, right? So I've already deployed it. Don't go ahead right now, just bear with me on this, first understand what's going on, because you need to know what it does so that you can write the dashboards and the tests and other things a little later. I've already deployed it, and it's a simple inventory application or an inventory API. It simply gives the product ID and the amount of inventory, the quantity that you have for each product in JSON format. So if you look at the already deployed one, eventually when you deploy, you will have an endpoint which is in Cloud Run, and if you give a slash inventory, call to it, you find that it will come back with this nice, detailed, great response that you're seeing of just 3 products. There are 3 products in the inventory. It's called, not called, sorry, it's I1, I2, I3. I'm a very, I would say, I like to name things in a way that nobody or myself understands. So these are just product IDs, I1, I2, I3. You can change the code and deploy also if you like to. And each product, the next to it is the inventory quantity on hand. There's no backend database. It's just a completely dummy response, because our goal is to focus on operations, not on writing inventory APIs. Another call which you see is if you do a slash and the product ID, right? So inventory slash I1, you will get only that product's inventory. So if you do an I2, you will get, 200, which was wrong, it returned a -1. If you do a 2, which is there, it will return the quantity that's there, right? So very straightforward, simple inventory. What was that? Inventory API. Again, as you see, it's not got too much of code and error handling, but that's fine. So 3 quantities, and you get the individual one. That is precisely what is described over here. So what is the sample application that we are talking about? It's just hosting an inventory. It can give you the specific product ID. So it's got 3 products, as you see, I1, I2, I3. Here are some sample calls, which you should try after you deploy. Just wait for a while, so that you can ensure that you're getting what is expected out of it, right? So the first step now that we got to do is just clone the repository, because we'll be working off Google Cloud Shell. So the repository, as you can see, again, it just reminds you to make sure that you're in the right project. So that's fine. So all I want you to do is just do a git clone of this repository in your home folder in Cloud Shell. So that's what we are going to be doing. So I'm just going to copy this command and simply do this along with me. So be in your Cloud Code and in your, I would say, the root folder itself or the home folder itself. Just, don't copy the $sign like I did. Just make sure that it's a valid command and just clone it. Okay. So once that we've cloned it, let me just increase this size also a bit. Okay. Now that you've cloned it, obviously you will find that if you go into that folder, sample repository, and you do a listing, you should be seeing those same three uh, projects that are there, right? Now, so far with me on this, simply cloning has happened, nothing more has happened, right? So let's go back to the instructions. What do the instructions say? Again, common steps, which is let's go into the repository, which we've done. Let's go into the Python Flask API, because that's what I've told is the project that you have to do. Now, don't do this right now. If you've done, fair enough. But if you see, the step is optional. And why have I kept this step optional? Because I'm just saying we've not yet even deployed it. I'm just showing you the power that you can still be within Google Cloud Shell and run an API on a port and still be able to access it without deploying it on Cloud Run. So very good for local testing, right? You don't have to go through this long loop of coding, deploying to Cloud Run, which takes a few minutes, then finding, oh, it's an error. So I need to now come back to, and that cycle is pretty large. So my reason for showing you this is you can be right within your Google Cloud Shell itself and do some magic there. So let's quickly see it. You don't have to necessarily do it. You want to follow with me, that's fine too. So again, remember, we are not deploying this yet, okay, on Google Cloud. So I'm in my repository. What are the folders? So I'm just going to go into my Python Flask API folder. Fair enough. And here I see just these three files. Everything is pretty much present in the app.py file. And there is an instruction out here that says, let's run this application locally, right? So it's an API. It'll come up and it'll be listening on a port. So let's do that. So I'll just say Python as per the instructions and .py. And here you go. It's actually started the Flask application and it's waiting on this port. Now your question will be, but I started this locally. It's running on a Cloud Shell, on a VM and Google Cloud. How do I now hit it via browser, right? So very straightforward. The instructions tell you that if you go down in your terminal, that means in your Cloud Shell itself, there is something called the web preview, right? And don't click it right now. Just listen to me for a moment. So if I go here, you'll see something called a web preview here, right? And if you see the web preview, it tells you that do you want to listen on port 8080 or change the port? Because see here it tells you it's running on port 8080, so we are fine. Otherwise, you could have changed the port also if you wanted, but I'm not going to do that. So 8080 is fine, right? And you see this first line which says preview on this port. So let's click that. And this actually sets up a tunnel and hits the server that's running on your Google Cloud Shell. And you got this error, which is on purpose, which is fine. Because all we need to do is there's no web pages or anything. So go till that last thing and just go ahead and put the inventory endpoint. And there you go. So the local application is running on your Cloud Shell. You've done a web preview. You're able to do this testing locally. And if you change your code, it'll work. Please share your screen. Is my screen visible or something has happened? I can see it. So should be fine. Amrish, which screen you're referring to? Okay, no problem. So this is a quick way by which you can test out any local application, which is a web app. Even if it was serving web pages, you could have seen this. For example, now if I try this -I1, that's also going to work. Everything is fine. So I can always go back to my Cloud Shell, do a Control-C and close it off, right? So that you're right there. So that's pretty much the optional part that you can actually go and do the thing. Now we'll come to the deploy. But before that, how many of you did not know that Cloud Shell had this feature of being able to run something locally as well as being able to preview it? So use this, just think of it like a full development environment in your cloud. Another thing quickly, nothing to do with this code lab, but don't feel bad to, instead of like using, for example, BI, using Vim, for example, and trying to do this and not knowing how to get out of the application, don't feel bad. Click on Open Editor. That's out here. And you will be able to get a complete VS Code environment and do your stuff too, right? So you can anytime switch between a terminal and an editor, and you are completely fine that way too. So feel free to use either which way that you are comfortable with. How many of you tried this locally and were able to run it? So far, so good. Okay. Now, the next step really is no magic. We are right there within that folder. So if I go back to my, Python Flask API folder, I've got all my files over here. I've got the Docker file. I've got whatever is required to really run this or basically deploy it on Google Cloud, right? So just like yesterday, where you had the bookshelves API, you had all the files, everything in place. Similarly, we've got all the files we need. So we may just have to do what happened here? Just hold on 1 minute on this captions. Okay. So what we may have to do now is nothing but fire some gcloud run deploy command, right? From yesterday, if you have tried to deploy it on Cloud Run, that's pretty much what it is. So in this third step, as you go down, deploy the application. Let's come to the real thing now. And this step of yours, remember, will need to succeed, because unless you have the API deployed or the Cloud Run app deployed, you're not going to be able to do the step 4 onwards. So I think it's an important step. If you're doing it right now, please just do it carefully. Make sure you don't make some mistakes, but it's really one line of code, command that's out there. Before you do that, or if you tried it, that's fine too. How many of you have done a deploy and it's working for you? Cloud Run, the inventory app, anyone's tried out so far? If not, that's fine too. So,
Romin, I think a lot of them have deployed the app. That's what you're asking, right?
Yeah. That's what I'm asking.
Yeah. Show of thumbs.
If you have not deployed, again, we just have one line of code here to run, which is gcloud run deploy source. I'll just copy it. And for those who are doing it with me, just be in that right folder and just fire this command. What this command really is doing is it's telling you that the source is in the current folder. From here, the build packs take over and do their magic of doing whatever I'm doing. A few questions may get asked at times, right? So for example, oops, I copied it wrong again with the $sign. So let me remove it and go for it. Now it's asking me, what's the service name? Basically, this is your Cloud Run service name. Either you go with the default file folder is taken, or I can say my new shiny inventory API, whatever, right? So give it a name that you like. And then it asks you for the region. I've intentionally not given all the parameters so that you're aware what all things you need to give. Select a region of your choice. I would say please play it safe and choose region number 30, which is shown on my screen, which is US Central 1. So I'll just go with that and say it's US Central 2. And now it's doing some stuff. Allow unauthenticated invocations. You must have seen this yesterday. Please choose yes for now. Don't worry about security. This ensures that you get a public endpoint and you're able to, anyone is able to access it from where they can. So we'll go with yes. And now it will do its magic. And even in the steps, you will see the same thing. It will ask you a few questions. Just answer what it has to. Then it does its bunch of things to deploy the Cloud Run application. And at the end of it, you're going to get a Cloud Run inventory API, which you can try using that service URL and everything. So while my stuff goes on, as you know, I already have it deployed like some of you have, and it's running. So can I go to the next step now for dashboard? Has everyone deployed it? Most of you have deployed it, and you do have a Cloud Run service that's returning inventory API? Yes, no? Who's still trying out? Need another minute?
Let's wait till 8:40.
Okay. You'll probably wait a similar period that I take for, at least my machine takes for setting this up. If you are facing errors while doing this, I can 100% guarantee you that probably some mistake somewhere, a typo, you missed a step, something not okay like that. It's nothing to do typically with this. There's nothing more to it than a straightforward API. It was working locally. It's probably either you're in the wrong folder. I've seen sometimes people have forgotten to do a CD into the Python folder, and I've tried to fire a gcloud command from anywhere else, and of course it doesn't get the current source folder Docker. We can choose any region to deploy, right? The answer is yes, but I would still strongly suggest to take US Central one. Not that because I know others won't work or anything like that. Sometimes the quotas could play their role in other regions where quota is always at a premium or is less at times in terms of. So those are our large regions. So take from there, you should be fine. But in the future, of course, as you have your own accounts, your own billing things, it should not be a problem. It's a nice question you asked, because why you would choose to host in a specific region is always, there are reasons for that. You have to be as close to your users. There could be compliance reasons to have it in a region. So there are many good reasons to do that. So here you go. Ideally, if everything has gone well for you, you will be seeing a service URL that I can just, take. I can put it in my browser, and as I know, /inventory is the API and it's working fine. And the same thing now you should be able to see even if you go to Cloud Run in your console. I've got several Cloud Run services, don't worry. I will just go for a moment to last deployed sorted so that you will see my new shiny inventory API has just been deployed. Everything looks hopefully okay. This was the same URL. I copy it. That's the same thing there, /inventory. So I'm hoping everything is fine for all of you and we can move forward, right? So this was about deploying the API. Now, let's go to step number 4, which is setting up a dashboard, right? And what are we really doing here, right? For that, let me just very quickly go back to that slide which I said, can I get a quick view into what is going on with my services, right? So I'm just saying, hey, Google Cloud, help me quickly with some dashboards so that I can see what's going on with my service. I'm not interested in writing in some new web application, looking at all APIs. No, give me something that you already have. And that's what this step is about. So step number 4, what we are going to be doing is we need to create some dashboards for our service. By dashboards, what we mean is it's going to be having some charts. By charts, what do we mean? It is going to be having some metrics, some kind of data that's shown. Like, for example, I told you how fast is my service. So latency numbers, response times, how many requests are coming onto my service, the load on my service, right? Many such metrics. We have literally somewhere between 5 to 10,000 metrics pre-calculated and available for you in Google Cloud. And that's what this is about. But you will see how cool we have done a few things around giving you a few sample dashboards that make it extremely simple for you to do that. So follow it along with me. What we are saying is there is a whole section in Google Cloud Console for monitoring, right? And that's where we are going to go right now. So let me go back to my console. And again, either you go from here, search down and pin it, or sometimes what I do is I just come back to this search and just showing you multiple ways you can get to one and the same. So just click on monitoring. And once you're there, or you could have gone from even the main console navigation bar here. Once you are there, right, as the steps say, there is something called, of course, overview. Don't worry about it. It gives you a summary of everything. It will show you some dashboards. It will show you some alerts. We'll be taking a look at some of these things, right? But for now, go ahead and click on something called dashboards as the lab instructs you to. So when you go to dashboards, so if you look at the lab, that's pretty much what's going on there. It tells you click on dashboards from the main menu. And now let's see what's going on. So if we are on the, I'm going to dashboards, which is what you're seeing here. Now, let me take this and delete this. I was doing a demo earlier in the day. So you might see a variation of some of these things. So right now, these are already dashboards. You may or may not see anything. These are already existing ones which are there. But I want you to go in the lab and it tells you to click on something called a sample library out here. So when you click that, you find that we have already given you, as you can see, about 150 plus 179. Let's not worry about the number, but it will only keep increasing. 150 plus dashboards of all kinds for different kinds of services. So whether you're using, let's say, Apigee, whether you're using Cloud SQL, Cloud Spanner, etc., there are already dashboards. So what does this lab tell you? It tells you go to that, and as you scroll down, go to something called Google Cloud Run. Why are we saying Google Cloud Run? Because that's where we have put the inventory API. That's why we are saying go to Google Cloud Run, so that we can see if there's already a sample dashboard available, and which is. So as you see here, Google Cloud Run, you find that there's one sample dashboard, but which has got some excellent 7 charts pre-built for it. So all you need to do is simply click on preview. And when you do that, you will be seeing these variety of charts, whether, like for example, if you go to the second one, you will see request count. You will see things like request latency. So just blindly for the moment, come ahead and click on this button called import sample dashboard as the thing tells you to. Once you do that, boom, you have this dashboard with all kinds. You might see different things on your machines. Don't worry about it. So you will see that you've got these metrics that are already being rendered. Again, sometimes you might get confused. Data is there, not there. Just see, you can do all of this filtering by number of hours or minutes, last 15 minutes, whatever. If you want to keep it on some big screens in your offices or homes, you can always maximize it and see it that way also. There's also an auto refresh, which you see here in the top corner. So the nice thing is, if you go now to your dashboards list, you will see that there's already one dashboard created for you, which is the current one. If you click on this star and make it a favorite and go back to the overview, you will see that this dashboard now is listed among your favorites. So if you've got tens and 20 or hundreds of dashboards, which in some situations there are, you can see that your favorite ones will be listed right there in the overview. You can click that and come back to where you want. Obviously, you can play around, you can edit this, you can do all kinds of changes, also colors and other kinds of graphs and how much time series and intervals. That's a completely different area. But what we are telling you here is, just look at how simple it was to get a few dashboards going for your specific services. You name it, whether it's cloud storage or any of the databases, whatever. Like I told you, 150 plus dashboards. So that's precisely step number 4. It says, import the sample dashboard. This gives you the, I would say, different dashboards that are there. I told you to also star it so that it appears right within your favorites, right? So that's great. This is how you add custom dashboards, right? So how many of you are there? You can even try it out with your, other service. You'll be able to see the data. Just throw some sample requests, right? When you say sometimes that, hey, there's no count coming for my request, the point is, it will only show data that's there. So remember one thing, you'll get confused at times. Is it even recording data? Is it missed out? The chances more are that you need to keep sending data. Just adjust the time interval sometimes here so that you know it's last 15 minutes. Maybe if I put at last 15 minutes, you'll see a completely different kind of a thing where there might be no data at times in some of the situations, right? So how many of you are looking okay at the dashboard level? Mimit J asks, does this data reside in some bucket in the working project, or is it just Google project? All this data that you're seeing is present only in your Google Cloud project. So your Google Cloud project is where your data resides. It doesn't reside anywhere outside of it. Google doesn't know anything about this. The data resides in, of course, buckets. Behind the scenes, there are log buckets that are created by default, which have all of this data. From that logs, the log contains raw telemetry, but we need to make sense via metrics. So for example, incoming HTTP request response going in and coming out, but we need to maybe count those and tell you request count is something, or we need to see the start time and end time, subtract the two and give you a latency. So we compute all of these metrics. You'll see tons of metrics when we come later to this area called metrics explored in the lab, but you're spot on, good question. Data is yours, resides with you, you can control all of that. It is a Google managed service, monitoring logging, all of these are pretty much the heavy duty in terms of provisioning anything to run it is taken care of by Google. Thanks, Abhi, for the point.
Rohan, just one thing.
Yeah.
Reminder for Rohit's session at 8:50. Maybe you can just continue. Anyway, we have
Maybe just one more point we'll do, and then we can do the rest tomorrow also, or whenever. If people are finishing it, that's fine. Yeah. So we'll just go ahead now with one more thing for today, which is uptime checks. And again, so far we'll just cover the dashboards. We'll go to the next thing called uptime checks. Now, very quickly, just going back to that slide, right? Is my service even on, right? I asked you this question. Is it working? Is it working correctly or not, right? Simple question. Is it down or not? Have I got notified? So you might think, okay, maybe I'll write something outside which will ping my service. If I get this kind of response, maybe it looks good. If not, it's fine. Every minute, maybe I'll hit out every 5 minutes or 5 times a day, whichever it is. No need to do all of that. Well, you can do it. It's not needed because there's already a feature in Google Cloud that's called this step, which is called uptime checks. So uptime checks, right, is all about basically saying that I'll keep hitting this endpoint. Which endpoint? Now, if you see in the code, I've actually created one endpoint called healthy. So if you hit this endpoint, it returns food. This is something else. Sorry. Where am I? I'm in my new API and I'm going to say healthy. You see here this text which I'm returning intentionally, that if anyone hits my healthy endpoint, it's called all is well. So this is not really publicized. It's just for my own testing that hey, if I hit this, it should return me this text, which means it is actually alive. It's giving 200 okay, and it's also giving this text called all is well. So really speaking, what this uptime check does is that there's also a notification channel that if something goes wrong, where should it actually tell you about? So like I tell you, do you want to get notified by SMS, pager duty, Slack, email, whatever it is, right? So basically, I've already set up an email, but the way you would do that, and that's what is shown in the lab, you go to alerting and you have something called edit notification channels. You may not have any entries, but you can just click on that and then you will see several of these supported. So I've actually gone in email, for example, and added a new email. In this case, I've added one email of mine, but this is where you will first go and set up an email where you would like to get notified if something goes wrong. That's what the first step you need to do, which is what this is telling you. Go to monitoring alerting, just set up in the email channel, set up something. Now, once that's done, I'm setting up an uptime check. So for that, I'll just show you the steps which the lab anyway tells you. Some of you can follow the lab, but I'll just show you that. So I go in this monitoring itself, there is this stuff called uptime checks. So I'll go there. There's obviously nothing right now here. So I'll create an uptime check and nicely tells you what's the target, what should I keep hitting. So I can select as HTTPS. What's the resource type? It gives you a nice list of resources you can hit. In our case, we know it's the cloud run service. So I will select it's a cloud run service I want to hit. Now, what's the service name? No need to remember it. Plug in intro, like look at the service registry and get it. In my case, I have several. Let me see where my shiny new inventory API is. So I'm going to select that. You select yours. What's the path? So I'm going to say you need to hit the /healthy endpoint. Take it every minute. Go ahead. Now I'm also saying content matching. It has to. It's not disabled. It should be there. And it should contain this text, all is well, right? So you get what I'm doing. Hit that endpoint, it should return your text and check if all is well is returned. 200 okay, HTTP code is also good. Continue. If something goes wrong, please inform me, right? And where should you inform? Will you be informed? If you have selected your email, or sorry, created an email notification channel, you will see that. In my case, I created one for email. So I can select that. In your case, you can select whichever one. Just continue and give a title that this is, I don't know, my inventory API uptime check. You can test it out if you want. This just checks whether you configured correctly, in which case it has, and you simply create it. That's all you need to do. And what does this do right now? Don't get confused. You're seeing that one entry is got added in uptime checks. That's exactly what all these steps in the lab, which I showed right now, do. It will show you that it's black for now because every minute or so, from 4 regions, that URL will be hit, and you will ultimately see this turning green, that everything is looking fine. If any problem is there, it will be red and you will receive an email alert. So when you come back to after a few minutes, if you set it just right now, even in my case, you will see that within a few minutes, this is going to start becoming green. And this is as simple as how you do your uptime checks. Any URL you want to test, just do it that way. So how many of you have configured uptime checks and maybe gone back there, refreshed and seen it turn green? Anyone? Or maybe seen it turn red in case you like intentionally put something wrong or made it stop or something. So this is pretty much how you do your uptime checks. I think we'll pause here for today. And we still have about 2-3 more things to look at tomorrow. Then continue later on, or we can continue tomorrow in our session. Thanks for being with me. Over to you, Abhi and Rohit. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Roman. This was very insightful. And I see a lot of folks follow along. And we'll continue this tomorrow. We'll see Metrics Explorer, cloud logging, and alert policies, which are equally engaging and very interesting. We have Rohit Gumre. Thank you so much for joining, Rohit. Is it okay, Rohit, if I record your session as well?
Sure, sure. Yeah, I'm completely fine.
Okay. Thank you so much. Over to you.
Yeah, thanks, thanks for that insightful session. Moving ahead, let me, yeah. I'm not going to share like any slides or something today. It will be like random kind of a thing where we will just go ahead by checking what actually is the like how you can start your cloud native and DevOps journey with Google Cloud. So as you can see, it will be simple. It will be like no, not. I will not take much time of yours. So, if you want to get into the cloud native, cloud and DevOps, like how you can get into the same with the Google Cloud as well as any other cloud, whatever you prefer. So nowadays, like you think DevOps is trending or something, so you can ask me the doubts like, is it is it true or something? And otherwise, if you have any doubts related to cloud engineering, DevOps, you can ask in the comments for sure. So who am I? So I'm Rohit. I'm DevOps advocate with some company, and then I'm currently the Google developer expert for the Google Cloud in the modern architecture. So what is the modern architecture? Kubernetes and stuff, right? So if you have heard about Kubernetes and stuff, so I'm Google developer expert for that. I'm currently leading a lot of communities, as you can see, keep up DevOps community, GDG Cloud Mumbai. So if you're from Mumbai, hey, then CNCF Thane, and recently we did the case study Mumbai, and currently I'm planning for the DevOps Days India. So that's all about me. So not wasting your time again, and let's go ahead. So we will just go like deep into the what is the steps you should take for getting into the like DevOps or cloud or kind of thing. So first of all, like if you are someone who wants to like get into the stuff like Google Cloud, so I would recommend first go into the like Google Cloud training. It is easy for sure. You don't have to do anything. Like just go and click on the start training. There are a lot of programs like this current going program, which is Arcade program, right? So it has like Arcade program, which also provides you the Google Cloud Quick Labs and some things, as well as it also provides you with different challenges. Like one of the challenge which Romin shared just now. So get this certification, share it, and you will also get like swags or kind of thing. But yeah, here your goal should be the learning. You are here for the learning, right? So this is access course. Use this in the Quick Labs, and you will learn a lot. Like I started my Google Cloud journey from the Quick Labs, and now you can see me as a Google developer expert for Google Cloud. So yeah, it helps a lot for growing the things, and it is really nicely created. Like you have like hands-on labs kind of a thing, and then you have to just copy paste, and you can see however that. So it is like environment created for you, and you just have to do the stuff, and you will get the updates. So why actually I'm telling this? You will get an idea in some time. So there are a lot of trainings going on. So here you can see like if you want to get in the cloud, there are different paths. Then there is a Google Works. If you want to go into the Google Workspace kind of thing. So whatever is your goal, machine learning, AI, or something. So currently they launched the generative AI learning class. It is too nice. Like you will learn generative AI from the scratch to the end, and there are different things. Also, this helps you to get into some badges, certification, and get the certification vouchers. So other than that, so let's see if you want to get like hands-on kind of thing. So one is a skill boost, right? Other than that, like let's say you want to get into the open source. So you are grabbing the skills from here. You tried out the hands-on labs, right? Now your goal should be to go and contribute to the open source, try it out, like how the things are working there. If you are like in the DevOps and cloud, there are like monitoring tools, there are like containers tools. If you have played on the Docker, Kubernetes and stuff like, so why not to see like how can we contribute into Kubernetes, right? So this is the Cloud Native Community Foundation, right? So everybody knows about it. If not, like just go here and you can see like there are different projects and they're all are open source projects, right? So you just have to go to the Cloud Native landscape. Don't get overwhelmed with this diagram. There are like a lot of projects in this world, but yeah, as you can see, you can easily like filter out what is your need. So like if you want to, so what is graduated incubating and sandbox kind of program? Sandbox is nothing but there's just first stage level programs which are just added, and then incubating is senior than that, and graduate is like they are graduated from CNCF and they have like lot of big community and stuff. So you will get the knowledge about this slowly, but that is not focused currently. Let's see if you want to go to the any project. Let's take an example of Kubernetes, which is one of the favorite of everyone, right? So now you want to contribute into the same. You will go to the GitHub, and then you can see that there are like lot of contributors. So why not you can be one, right? So it is simple. Like just go and check what are current issues are open there, and like I'm just telling you to get into the open source, like how you can get it. So other thing is like just look for the what we say for GitHub first issues, like GitHub first issue is there. So you can see here, you can search here, and then if any PR you think is like it is easy for you to go ahead. So let's go and search. Let's check if anywhere we can find easier to do or something. So one of the ways is like you can go to the that code base, and then you can see Kubernetes has like entire different things. Like if you are someone who wants to go into the website building kind of a thing, you can go website and you can contribute there. Then there is a community. If you want to help the community, Kubernetes community, then you can go there and help them. Similarly, let's say if you're a graphic designer or something, that is also your that is also the one of the option. You can contribute the graphics also there. Also, website is one of the thing where you can contribute in many ways. Like if there is new documentation is adding, if the Kubernetes recently launched the version 1.28, so there should be lot of things new year and there are a lot of bugs, right? You are the first one to pick up that. And if you think if you can't contribute the code, go on the website and see like if you can add new if you want to see like if there is some missing documentation in website which is not added for the version 1.28, go and easily add it as it is. So you just have to submit some random PR. As you can see, there should be pull request created just now for the same like sidecar YML, right? So which is recently added because of the what we say Kubernetes version 1.28. That is nothing. Check what PRs people are doing, and accordingly that you can do your PR. It is easy, not kind of overwhelming or something, but you have to go step by step, then only you will get into things. Similarly, there are a lot of resources. So as I told about Google Cloud, right? You just have to search like what you want. Other than that, I recently found out about cloud innovator program, right? So it is nice program where you will gain lot of insights. You will get monthly newsletters and stuff, which will help you to learn about the Google Cloud as well as whatever things are happening. Then training is there. Then certification program is there. Certification also has the training. Then there is a learning program which is role-based learning for you. Similarly, blogs. So every recently, I guess Romin and other people from India, Google Cloud India, they launched their Medium publication for the Google Earth. They have a lot of nice blogs which helps us to learn about Google Cloud and Google. So that how you can connect this to your process, right? So if you are some DevOps cloud engineer, right? So you have to go by step, right? So let's see if you want to go into the DevOps. So what should be the ideal path? Like you will the firstly to focus on the networking, then there is a learning path here. So go into the Google Cloud and search for like what is the things added for the networking. So learn about networking, then go to the Linux, learn about the Linux, then go to the containerization, then go to the orchestration, like how you can orchestrate your containers. Or orchestrate is nothing but a Kubernetes. Kubernetes used for the orchestration. Then there is another things which is OpenShift and other things, right? But yeah, Kubernetes is open source and you can use that anytime. So Google Cloud also, so if you know, like Google was the one who created like Kubernetes at the start, and then they like published it in the GitHub, CNCF. So that's how you can see open source is the way where you can contribute and learn also. But let's see if you want to start as a Google Cloud into the DevOps. So you will get entire DevOps path into just Google Cloud. So how there is a certification programs, right? They are structuredly created and it will be available for you here only, like where it was resources. Yeah. So here you can see like there are different certifications, right? So depending on what is your need, you can see you can do the certifications. So Cloud DevOps Engineer is one of the same. So it is what I told you, it is the same. Like so see there will be yeah, yeah. So this is the thing which I would recommend for after you have learned. So it is nothing but there are trainings available for this, so you can go and learn about the same. Other than that, let's see if you want to, if you are already the practitioner and you want to see like how you can apply that on the Google Cloud. So let's see, like I use Kubernetes a lot, right? So I will go to the docs of the Google Cloud, and then let's see, I have to let's see if there is a Cilium support, Cilium which is one of the CN. I will not go into the deep, but let's say Kubernetes, right? So there is a getting started available for everything. So if you go into the same, and here you so you don't have to go to the Kubernetes directly, but yeah, GK, which is Google's Kubernetes engine, right? Which is managed Kubernetes by the Google Cloud. So you just have to go there, and in the documentation you will see everything is available, like getting started, how to install on your local system. Also, they have their own guides, they have their own skill boost quick labs there where you can try it out, and it will help you a lot. I will tell you, like it's like environment created. You just have to copy paste, and you have to just notice like how the logs are running and what is happening. So yeah, everything is there. You just have to start. Other than that, I would recommend if you want to start from the beginner kind of thing, I also have this DevOps community where you can come and learn about the things where there are paths and different things are added with various resources and stuff. So here it is there. You can go and check it out. Other than that, yeah, so my goal was to just share the resources with you and how you want to get started with open source and stuff. But yeah, in future, if like I have the time to talk with you more, we will share more of the things on the same, as well as if you have any doubts related to the MLOps, cloud, DevOps, Kubernetes, and modern architecture, you can ping me anytime. I guess that's all for today. I will not take much of your time, and let's continue for the next session. So thank you.
Thanks a lot, Rohit. Do you want to the page that you were sharing about DevOpsCommunity.in that you're maintaining? I just didn't want to misspell. If you want to type that in the chat.
Sure, sure. I will share the link here. Okay.
Cool. Thanks a lot, Rohit. That was informative. For the folks in the session, please feel free to sign up for innovators. I consistently keep looking for people who are submitting the results in time, and also who are very interested and who are hands-on and who continue to do that. We have a lot of those folks, but for those who are consistent and those who are interested out of their own interest, who reach out with results or reach out with for building more projects, we handpick them and eventually groom and train them to become cloud innovators eventually. Not immediately, it's a 3 to 6 months process, but they build in Google Cloud and all. So that is through another project called Project Sadhana, which we do. So Bharat, who presented yesterday, is one of those folks who were handpicked. So if you're interested also, please feel free to reach out. But as you reach out, we'll see your submissions in the past for Code Vipassana sessions as well. Yes, Nilesh, you are identified already. I'll be reaching out to you soon. Mahendra, yeah. Do you have something to say, or are you interested?
No, I am interested. That is one more thing. But the other question was that regarding what Roman had taken through today, I just wanted to ask that with the app that the session one, I wanted to create one more app and then go through with today's session. Can I do that? Because the more I dig, the better I get into it. That's what I was looking for. Can I do that? Because the session one submission has been done, but I'm not sure whether that's been seen. Will it be seen? I don't want to
Yes,
make a
will
mess
be
on that.
seen. I mean, no. Don't worry about it. All your submissions will be reviewed personally. It's not automated. Don't worry about that. But yeah, Roman, do you want to take that question?
So yeah, if I understand correctly, Mahendra, you're asking if we can create another application?
Yes.
Yeah, nothing stops you from just creating another application or API or a new project. So that's completely up to you. You could even for example, if you want to look at Google Cloud documentation, there are several services we've created. You could deploy those two, or you could make a clone of your project, deploy another service with a different name in Cloud Run. So you'll have two Cloud Run services in the same project. Up to you. So if you notice, right, I mean, like I had already an inventory API, but then I deployed it again with a new service now. So it just gives me two services, three services, whatever, in the same project. And I can create then things which talk to all of them.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Roman. Thanks, Mahindra. So yeah, we are actually 10 minutes over, but that's fine. We started at 8:10. But thanks a lot, everyone, for joining. And tomorrow, please join in so we can continue and complete this season. It's not complete until you all complete the exercises and share the results. So we have till end of August to do that. And please share it so other people can also do it hands-on. There's already a lot of people who are not participating, who are also working on the blogs and code labs, and they're doing it on their own and sharing results. I would encourage you also to share the word, spread the word, and have your community and your groups to try this hands-on. All right. Thanks, everyone. Have a great Thursday evening. Thanks, Roman. Thanks, Rohit. Your
Thank you.
input is help. Bye.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you all. Bye.